Bill McGurn joins us, Wall Street Journal, Karl Rove, Kimberly Strassel, and thank you all for getting up and chipping in on our coverage right here. I tell you, I was in Hanoi, Vietnam, when Trump and Mike Pompeo were meeting with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. And Dan, I know you remember that all too well also, when they were behind closed doors, no cameras, and they came out and they said, boom, the meeting's over. So that was then. And now this is today. Karl, what was your read on what you watched on TV for the past 30 minutes?
Well, this is why diplomacy should never be conducted in public. I'm confident, and we now know that, for example, in World War II, there were heated disagreements between Franklin Roosevelt, Joseph Stalin, and Winston Churchill, but we didn't see them broadcast on TV, and what we saw were statements that came out of these big conferences in which the Allies made an effort to move forward together. It is hard to get, it is going to be incredibly hard to walk back from the kind of animosity that we saw in that room today, and to walk back some of those statements. It could have been done if it had not been, if cameras had not been running. But the only winner out of today is Vladimir Putin. This is a mistake to have it broadcast. It was a mistake for Zelenskyy to get his dander up, and it was a mistake for the president and the vice president to be so public in their comments. This was not the moment that should have been televised. They should have had those conversations out of camera sight, and I'm confident that then they would have been able to find a way to move forward. But it's really hard when you've had the kind of coverage of this moment that we've now had. Yeah,
and we're looking live at the White House, the West Wing entrance exit there to see if we see any activity. Bill McGurn, want to bring you in. Here was more from that exchange. President Trump on a deal or no deal. Listen.
I don't know what happened, but he didn't break it with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think?
What's this negotiation?
This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right. We'll see what we can do about putting...
Bill, in addition to the fiery exchange, you can also make the case there was a lot of body language that was happening in that room with the world leaders as well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the body language was awful. You have world leaders pointing at each other and correcting each other. I agree with Karl. This is all stuff that can be in the back room. They made different substantive points. Look, they went into it. It was supposed to be to announce a deal that is a good deal, the mineral deal. It's not everything, but it's a step forward. And instead, we got constant correction of each other and two-on-one against Zelenskyy. I think President Zelenskyy misread Donald Trump, especially in a public setting. I think if it behind closed doors, Trump could have said, you're not grateful, it's really a mistake, and it would have gone over better. But there's a president fighting for his country in front of cameras. He knows Putin's watching it, his own countrymen are watching it. So when that happens, leaders get trapped by their environment, and I think that's what they were. Look, I agree, like Zelenskyy would be wise to look more grateful. But put it this way, were the Afghans grateful for what we did? Could Biden get away with saying, well, we abandoned them because they weren't grateful? No, the interests are much larger than that. So I thought it was very unfortunate, and I don't know how they walk this back.
Well, we'll see. There's still time. It's not even 1:30 in the afternoon. And being on Trump time, things can move pretty quickly. Kimberly, jump on in here. Where do you guess things go next?
Well, I think the thing that stood out to me the most here was just how far apart they clearly are on so many issues. And that really, if you listen to the back talk and the crosstalk, those points spilled out that we were supposed to be meeting here on a rare earths mineral deal. But in the course of that conversation, we found out that Zelenskyy clearly isn't even sold on the notion of a ceasefire, that there are huge discussions still going on about what kind of security guarantees, if any, there would be there, that Putin seems to be far more open to this, which should give everyone pause than the Ukrainian counterpart. One other thing that stuck out to me is I wonder a little bit, too, a mistake here, and there were a lot of mistakes made on both sides, but one of the mistakes here might have been Zelenskyy conducting this in English. I think it's heroic he speaks in English, but language is very complicated, and I think that there was also some words there that were used that simply riled Trump and Vance in a way that I don't think Zelenskyy meant them to. For instance, at one point he said, you know, we've been going this alone. I think what he meant is that those on the battlefield fighting, the soldiers themselves, have been only Ukrainians, whereas Trump and Vance took that to suggest he was not grateful for the economic assistance and weapons that Americans have sent. So that was also at play, and another reason why none of this should have happened in public.
Yeah, Dan, I want to go back to this moment. It appears to be the moment that Zelenskyy attempts sort of a reset to go back to what he said was the beginning. Listen here. More from the exchange.
Let's start from the beginning. Sure. First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
Dan, there were moments where this felt like it went from bad to worse.
Yeah, and Kim makes a really good point about the language. I've been in a lot of these sorts of diplomatic discussions, and the idea that you have a translator there gives both sides to think a little bit before they speak and dial down, if necessary, the tension in the room. And it also allows both presidents to convey what they like with a lot of nuance. I think that was a challenge in this case for President Zelenskyy, and it was hard for him maybe to express what he really wanted to express in English. And when it comes to gratitude, he could have dialed it down by saying, look, a couple of years ago, I addressed the U.S. Congress and thanked the U.S. Congress and the American people, and since then I've been very grateful. But I think the fact that he had to speak in English, not his native language, presented additional problems. And no one really took the opportunity to dial things down. It just got more heated.
Dan, is he your guest right now? They have this press conference or no?
I think they got some work to do, because if they were to have a press conference right now, it would just be a follow-up on the last 10 minutes that we saw, and that probably wouldn't be of any additional help to the cause.